Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, shall we continue? So we were discussing the 7 major activities of software engineering. So the major activities are requirement specification and design, modeling, programming, and quality assurance. So in today's class, we discussed 7 major activities of software engineering. Previously, we discussed 3 major types of software projects. So the evolutionary or maintenance projects, greenfield projects, and projects that involve building on a framework or a set of existing components. Then we discussed the 7 major activities of software engineering: requirement specification activity, design activity, modeling activity, programming activity, quality assurance, deployment, managing the software. So the next topic is called software quality. Shall we discuss?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So the next topic is software quality. Here we will discuss the basic and the fundamental concepts of software quality. So what is software quality means? So whenever we need to test our software so that it will be free from any errors or bugs, so that it will be used by the end users without any problem. So the same way that if you take any engineering product, say if they are manufacturing some automobile, two-wheeler or four-wheeler, say Royal Enfield or some any automobile vehicle, once the production is over, they will give the vehicle for test drive. So the test drive itself, they will try to rectify any problem in the engine or in the accelerator or in the wheel and other things. They will try to rectify whether it is ready to use or not. The quality check and quality assurance activities will be done, performed so that it is free from any bugs and errors. The same way, when we create any software project, we should go for software quality by performing software testing activities. So the software quality is the degree of conformance to explicit or implicit requirements and expectations. So in software quality, what we are doing is we are checking whether the software is ready to use or not. So here we will check the explicit requirements and implicit requirements. Explicit means we are specifying some requirements in the software, requirement specification. So all those specifications, software requirement specifications, whatever is mentioned is implemented in the project or not. So that is called explicit testing. The second one is implicit testing, means we will check whether the other any compilation errors or the rules and regulations are working, it's user friendly or not, it's giving any it's having any hanging problem, memory access problem, delay is there in the how much time it takes to execute the project, how much time it takes to store the results or to update the result. So the execution time, input time, access time, so everything, complexity, everything will be checked by using implicit testing and explicit requirements testing process. So what is explicit means clearly defined or documented. So the clearly defined and documented requirements are already specified in the requirements specification. The implicit means not clearly defined and documented but indirectly suggested. So here we'll check for the overall performance. Here we'll check that cost, time, efficiency, user friendliness, everything will be checked. So the software quality is nothing but checking the software product or end product for explicit and implicit requirements are met or not. Got it? So the next in the testing, what are the things they're testing? The software quality is determined based on the 5 important attributes. The 5 important attributes of any software is usability, efficiency, reliability, maintainability, and reusability. So usability means users can learn it fast and get their job done easily. So the software should be in a usable form. It should be easily installable, and it should be easy to log in, and it should provide all the facilities. So it should be user-friendly one, and it should be available at, for all the people, and it should be easily understandable by the end user. Efficiency means it does not waste resources such as CPU time and memory. So any software should not occupy much space. If it occupies 1 GB or 850 GB, nobody will not download the software. So it should be in a minimum, it should occupy very less memory space. And it should not occupy much CPU time. So if using CPU time, all other processes will be delayed. More memory and more CPU time processing will be used only for the particular application. So it should be efficient one in terms of memory usage as well as in CPU time usage. The third parameter is reliability. It does what it is required to do without failing. So if you are doing some calculation, it should give the accurate result. If you are searching for some data, it should provide the whatever we search, it should be able to provide the searched keywords. So it should be reliable one. We should trust on the output. So that is called reliability. The fourth parameter is maintainability. It can be easily changed. So it should be easy to maintain. If you want to check for any virus, or if you want to scan, or if you want to delete unwanted data from the software, or if you want to change the username or password. So anything if you want to do with the software should be easy to manage. So that is called manageability. And reusability means its parts can be used in other projects. So reprogramming is not needed. So the various functions used in the particular project should be reusable in other projects also. Say for example, if you are creating a login process for use with the username and password, in any application we have the same process. So we need to register ourselves, we need to create username and password. So the same login process what we created for one particular project can be reused in other projects also. So your project should able to access or adopt other process or functions. So that is called reusability. So the major 5 software qualities what we expect from any software is usability, efficiency, reliability, maintainability, and usability. Any doubt in this software quality features? Krishna Sai?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I think in next week onwards, we will make separate schedule for first hour and second hour, because continuous 2 hour it's not supporting. So we will make it in the next week Wednesday. We'll have 2 to 3 1 hour separate class. Again, we will have one more class 3 to 4 or 3:15 to 4, because continuously if you go continue the class within the same login, I think it's not supporting, because maximum it will support for 50 minutes and we need to log out, or we need to end the meeting and we need to start the meeting. I cannot able to end the previous meeting. I started as it is, I joined, so I cannot able to access. Okay, any doubt in this software quality? Srisha? Kirtana, any doubt in the parameters of software quality? So the next topic is software quality. What is quality means to each of the stakeholders. So in what kind of quality each and every stakeholder will expect from the software. We already discussed, we have 4 stakeholders or users of our project. Say the first one is end user, customer, developer, and development manager. So quality for any end user will be easy to learn, efficient to use, and helps to get work done. So they want the software to be easy to understand, and it should give the perfect result, efficient result, and they want the job to be done by the software in an effective way. These are the, if these three parameters are performed by the software, they will say the software is quality, it's ready to use. And if you take the customer solves the problem at an acceptable cost and in terms of money paid and resources used. So if the problem is solved and it is cost effective one, and money is saved when we perform the operation using the software product, then they will say, the customer will say the software product is quality assurance. And if you take the developer, for any developer, the quality of software is determined based on the design. It should be easy. The design should be very simple and easy, and it should be easy to maintain and reuse its parts. So if you create the software product with existing components and parts, then they will say the quality of the software is very high according to developer. In case of development manager, the person who is developing the project, if the software is sold more and pleases the customers are satisfied with the software, and while the cost of the product is less, manufacturing cost is less to develop and maintain the software, they will say the product is, or the software is, quality is very good. So the quality of any software will differ from person to person. So for end users, the quality is different. Customer, the quality parameters are different. Developer and development manager, the quality parameters are different. And what is software quality? So these are the things we need to consider while checking for quality of any software. The different qualities can conflict. Say increasing efficiency, reduce maintainability as well as reusability. So if you are creating the project with a very high security and with very high efficiency, the maintenance cost will automatically increase, and we cannot use the same software for other products. And increasing usability can reduce efficiency. So if many users are using and it is very easy to use, easy to understand, it is the efficiency will automatically decrease, because many customers are using, and the hackers may access, or if the design is very simple, any malware can easily infected by the software. And setting objectives for quality is a key engineering activity. So you can design to meet the objectives, avoid over engineering with waste money. So it means that whenever we design any product software, we should make use of the existing components so that we can avoid wastage of money in spending much time and much resources for creating new software products. Optimizing is also sometimes necessary. Obtain the highest possible reliability using a fixed budget. So we need to optimize our project in such a way that the project will be completed within the given stipulated time, as well as the cost also within the given budget. So that is called optimization. Any software product which is created with less time, with less money, and with maximum efficiency, then we will say the project is optimal one. Internal quality criteria characterize aspects of design of the software, have any effect on external quality attributes, the amount of commenting of the code, the complexity of the code. So for any internal quality assessment team, so once the project is created, the software testing professionals will test your project. While testing, they will check for the complexity of the code. So if the complexity is, then the project is efficient one. And the quality attributes, external quality attributes like giving the result with less time, and cost is very less, and the size is very less. It takes very less time to execute the process. So these are the internal quality aspects of any quality criteria. So these are the main parameters we need to check when we create any software for its testing process. So the short-term versus long-term quality. So the quality of any software maybe it can be classified into short-term quality as well as long-term quality. In short-term, does the software meet the customer's immediate needs? So if they use the product, the customer gets the output perfectly, means then the short-term quality is met. It is sufficiently efficient for the volume of data we have today. So if the software is very small in size, easy to install, easy to use, and if it takes very less time to execute, then the short-term quality is met. In long-term maintainability, so if the project is used for more than 10 years or 15 years, then the quality is good. Customers' future needs. The software project can fulfill the future needs of any customer. So say for example, we are using the banking projects for more than 15 years, 20 years. So the lifetime of the project used in any environment is very long, and it fulfills all the future needs of any customer. Then can say long-term quality aspects like maintainability and future needs are met. We can say the project is having long-term quality benefits. So you got the idea. So we can classify the quality aspects as short-term benefits and long-term quality benefits. Any doubt in this? The screen. Any doubt in short-term quality and long-term quality? Shall we continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So we have the next subheading is called difficulties and risk in software engineering. So when we create any software project, what are the difficulties we may face, and what are the risk factors we may come across? How to overcome the difficulties in software development and how to solve the risk parameters. So the first parameter is called complexity and large number of details. So if you are using many functions, and if you are trying to implement very large amount of information using a single project, then the complexity will automatically increase. Say for example, if you take WhatsApp, it's having only very less number of features. Say we can make a call, video call, audio call, we can send textual message and video message and photos. And it can work in offline as well as online. So the number of features are very less, and it's having maximum 7 to 10 or 15 operations, not more than that. And the cost is very, that is the memory space, it occupies only for some 45 MB or something. And the response time, delivery time, access time, everything is within the given stipulated time. So the complexity, if you try to implement so many operations, and the complexity will automatically increase. If you go with WhatsApp with taking a Zoom class, in Zoom we have video we can take classes, but in WhatsApp we cannot go for video conferencing classes or slide share or conducting polls or conducting quizzes. That is not possible. So the number of operations is very fixed and very simple. So the complexity will be automatically very less. And uncertainty about technology. So the technology, that is the platform, the programming aspects, hardware components, that should be accessible to all the people. And uncertainty about the requirements. If you know all the requirements of your project, and if you collected all the requirements, necessary variables and functions, if you implement that, the complexity and the uncertainty will automatically reduce. Uncertainty about software engineering skills. If you are not familiar with a particular programming language, and if you are trying to implement functions in that language, then the efficiency will not be expected. Constant change. If you are constantly changing the programming functions or variables or other constraints, then the efficiency will automatically decrease. We may come across with risk and other difficulties. Deterioration of software design. If you are not following the standards, if you are not following the good practices or principles or the frameworks, models and methodologies, then you will not come out with a good software product. Political risk. So if you are creating some project which is against a political party or against the rules and regulations of government policy, then this kind of risk you will come across. So whenever we create any project, we should check the project is having these kind of risk factors or not. So if your project is having less complexity and the number of functions modules are very simple, then the quality will be very good. And if you are very familiar with all the requirements, if you implement all the requirements, you will come out with a good project. And if you are very strong in the software engineering aspects and the programming aspects and database design, you will definitely get a good project. And if you are not, if you fixed all your requirements and if you are following the standards, then the risk will be less. And if you are creating a good project which is not against any political or governmental policies, then the risk is very less. So before creating any project or before implementing any project, we should check these kind of risk factors are there for our project or not. And if it is there, we should try to avoid those kind of risk factors, or we should eliminate all those things. Then we should create the project. So we should consider not only the quality and testing parameters, we should consider the risk and difficulties also, and we should avoid and we should eliminate all those things in our project implementation. So our next topic is called, so any doubt so far? So we started with the software quality, which we defined what is software quality and what is implicit and explicit software quality checking process, the various attributes, 5 major attributes of software quality: usability, efficiency, reliability, maintainability, and reusability, and how the software quality differs from the stakeholders. So for end users, what is quality? Customers, what are the parameters for quality? Developer, what are the parameters they will check for software quality? In development management side, what are the things they will consider while creating the quality software? Then we discussed the various parameters or attributes we need to check while creating an quality software. Then we discussed the 2 major types of software quality: short-term quality and long-term quality. Then the various political and the various difficulties and risk factors we need to consider while developing any software product. So any doubt so far in the quality, introduction to software quality?
No, ma'am.
Okay. The next topic is called Introduction to Object Orientation. Can you tell me what is object? Any one of you? Krishna sir, what is object? What is classes? I think we already studied structured programming like C programming. Then we might have studied object-oriented programming concepts using C++, object-oriented programming lab using Java. I think you might have studied Python programming using object-oriented concepts. So in all object-oriented languages, the classes and objects are the major components for object-oriented characteristics. So if you take object orientation, procedure of identifying software engineering requirements and developing software specifications in terms of software system object model, which comprises of interacting objects. So the object oriented concepts are totally based on the classes and objects. So the classes plays an important role. Based on the classes only, we will create the objects, and all other object oriented programming aspects like data encapsulation, data hiding, inheritance, polymorphism, friend classes, templates, and operator overloading, operator overriding, exception handling, everything is based on objects and classes. So the primary task in object-oriented analysis are, so in object-oriented programming and object-oriented analysis and design, we focus on classes and objects. So our main idea is we need to identify the major objects of any real-time project. Once you identify the objects, then we can go for the corresponding class. And organizing the objects by creating object model diagram. Once the objects are identified, then we can create the object model diagram. So that will represent how the objects are interacting with other objects. And what is the role of object in other object-oriented models like sequence diagram or use case diagram, or in collaboration diagram or component diagram. Defining the internals of objects and object attributes. So we need to identify the object, what are the major attributes of the particular object, and define the behavior of objects and object actions. So we know very well the objects are collection of attributes and collection of actions. So we need to identify the data members and member functions of any class and object, describing how the objects interact. Then we can specify clearly how one object is interacting with the other object and how the operations are performed among the objects. So everything is based on classes and objects in case of object orientation in software engineering. So the basic concepts of object oriented software engineering is, first we will focus on classes. Based on classes, we'll create the objects. So we know very well classes are collection of variables and attributes. If you create the instance of the classes, we'll create objects, and based on the classes, so it means that we can create inherited classes. We'll have base class, and from the base class we can create the child classes, so that we can have the parent-child relationship, or we can say inheritance. So the child classes are inherited from the parent class. So we can implement the inheritance concepts using classes. Then we can have polymorphism. So using polymorphism, we can create the more than one function with the same name. So if we have the add function, we can have the same add function with the different attributes and different return type. So polymorphism means what? The multiple form for the same function. And based on classes and objects, we can create a data abstraction. Data abstraction means what? We'll create the abstract data type. So the classes are the best examples for abstract data types. Then we can go for data encapsulation. Data encapsulation means the classes, within class, the variables and functions are encapsulated with each other. So capsule means the tablet. So if you take the tablet capsule, inside the capsule cover, we'll have the medicine. So the medicine is hidden inside the capsule cover. The same way, the data and functions are encapsulated with each other. So the classes can, the attributes can be used only by the functions, and the member functions can alone access the data members. So they are putting the attributes and functions in a single capsule. So that is called data encapsulation. So these are the basic 6 concepts related with object-oriented software engineering. So if you take the object-oriented programming features, we'll have the classes, objects, data encapsulation, data abstraction, polymorphism, and inheritance. So what is class means? Classes are user-defined data types on which objects are created. So we know very well, classes are same as structures. So any doubt in what is class? Kirtana, can you define what is class? Amrit Kumar Chaudhary, Krishna Sai. Yeah, can you define what is class? What is class? So we know
it's a
very
user-defined
well.
data type.
Yeah, it is a user-defined data type. What are the things will be available within a class? We'll have class name. For within the class, we'll have set of attributes. The attributes can be of different type. No need to be the same type. If the attributes or the variables of same type, we will call it as array. So within class, we can have different types of variables. Say for example, here our class name is book. So the class is called book. Within the class, the book is having the following attributes. The various attributes are book title, it is of string type, alphanumeric characters, and the language of the book, it is of English type. So it is also alphanumeric character type. Author name, it is also string type. So we have 3 different variables or attributes, and using the on the book class, we can perform the following operations or functions. We can add book, we can delete any particular book, or we can update the book. Maybe the edition can be changed, authors can be changed, and we can view the book these are the operations we can perform on the class called book. So the class name is there. The class is collection of different variables or data members or and with different member functions. So a class is encapsulated with attributes and member functions. So with objects with similar properties or methods are grouped together to join a class. For example, we have called book. Within class, for the class book, we are creating the object one is software engineering book. The second object is software testing book. The third book is software quality book. You got the idea what is classes, how we are defining the class, and is an just a declaration part. So declaration alone. So it is a static entity. Are you able to see the screen? Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Kritika Jay?
Yes, ma'am. Visible.
Yeah. So you got the idea what is classes?
Yes, ma'am.
So a class is same as structure. I think in programming languages you might have studied. So if you take any programming language, C, C++, Java or Python, you will have data types. So basic data types and user-defined data types, or we will call it as primitive data types and structured data types. So basic data types are integers, characters, float and double are called basic data types. And for a integer will have 2 bytes, character will have 1 byte memory space, and the float will have 4 bytes, double will have 8 bytes memory space will be allotted for each data type. The same data types are array, structures, unions, and classes. The same we have enumerated data types and list data types, all those things. So in arrays we'll collect the same similar type of data elements, group of similar type of data elements. We'll call it as an integer array, character array, double array, like that. But in case of structures, we'll group different types of variables and we'll create a student structure, like a book structure. Only different types of variables alone will be there in structures. But in case of classes, we'll have different types of variables along with the functions. Variables and functions are encapsulated with each other, and data hiding is performed through the classes. So the classes also same as structures, but we can say classes are superset of structures. So if you take a class, it is also a user-defined data type. It is a static. Once the class is defined, the attributes and functions are fixed one. We cannot change it. Through inheritance only, we can create derived classes. So a class is nothing but it is a data declaration. So if you take the class book, it's having these 3 fixed variables, these 4 fixed functions. The variables inside the class are called data members. The functions within the class are called member functions. You got the idea?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the next subheading is called naming classes. So whenever we name any class, we should follow the standard techniques, naming techniques. Say for example, whenever you are writing your name, you are writing your first name, last name, surname. So through that, we can easily classify, we can easily identify any particular person. So yeah, the same way while naming any class also, we should follow some standard rules and regulations. The ASCII standard, American Standard for Code for Information Interchange, they fixed some naming standards for classes. Whenever you give some name for class, we should follow the standards. The various naming classes are use capital letters. Say the first, say for example, the first alphabet of any class should be capital. Say the bank account. In that, bank is in one word. The first letter is in capital. The second word account also have capital. So, or if you want to give some space, we can give bank underscore account. So, while naming any class, we should not use bank as a first letter should be always capital while naming any class. And use singular nouns. Try to use always one word. Do not use more than one word. If you want to use more than one word, use the right level of generality. So it means municipality, not city. So use the generalized words. If you say city means it will represent a particular place or particular capital. But if you want to represent a particular organization or a particular in industry, you give the proper name. Municipality is a place where we will get some government documents. So the proper word or proper generalized word should be used to represent any class. Make sure the name has only one meaning. So the word what you are using to represent a class should have a single meaning. We should not have alternative meaning. So we should use always generalized common word. So if you say city, it may represent different, it may give a different meaning. But if you give municipality, the word municipality is used to represent only the corporation or municipal office. Make sure the name has only one meaning. So bus has several meanings. If you say bus, it may be air bus, it may be AC bus or travel bus or government bus. So many buses. So the word bus can be used with any other term. So these are some naming standards we should follow while naming a class. Then the next concept called objects. So objects are nothing but instance of any class. To create say while using structures, we will use structure members. The same way, once the class is defined, we can create a number of objects, or we can create a number of instances from the class called object. Runtime entities that may represent a person, place, or item. And each object contains data and code to manipulate the data. So the object will also have set of attributes and set of functions. Data represents the attributes of the object and function represents the behavior of the object. So the data within the object represents the characteristics, and the functions within the object represents the behaviors or various functions of the object. Say for example, you are creating a data, the object data. So the object data is having set of attributes and set of functions. Attributes means the various characteristics or variables, and functions means the various operations which we can perform on the attributes. Objects take up space in memory and have an associated link structure in the C. Whenever we create any object, yes, memory space, corresponding memory space will be allotted in the memory. Say if you declare a variable, corresponding memory space will be reserved in the memory space to store the values. So out in objects, the diagram shows you the object diagram. So in object diagram, we have only two. We'll represent the object in square boxes. So we'll have one portion to represent the object name, other section will have set of data and functions. When a program is executed, the object interacts by sending messages to objects. So here we are creating three objects, object 1, 2, 3. So objects may interact with other objects. We can add these two objects, or we can add these three objects, or we can assign this object to second object, or the content of second object can be transferred to third object, or we can add these two objects and store it in the third object. So any operations can be performed by using objects. Got it? So the table shows you the clear difference between the classes and objects. Are you able to see the screen? So
Yes,
yeah, class is an data type, but it generates objects. From classes, we can create a number of objects. Class does not occupy memory location because it is only declaration part. So we are declaring a class. The class is having some name and variables and functions. It's just a data declaration. and class cannot be manipulated since it is not available in the memory. So we cannot add two classes, or we cannot transfer the content of one class into another class, because class is fixed. It is just a structure, or it is just the design or blueprint of the data which we are going to create. It is a static entity, so no memory space will be allotted for classes before or after compilation. It's only the declaration part. But if you take objects, objects are instance of the class. They are runtime entity. They are dynamic in nature. Object is an instance of the class. It gives life to class by adding features. So the whatever attributes are assigned, we will take some real-time values. Objects occupy memory locations. For each and every object, the memory space will be allotted and the values will be stored in the corresponding memory space. If no value is given or assigned, the memory space will contain the zero values. Objects can be manipulated. So we can perform any manipulation or operation on objects. We can add objects, we can overload objects, we can transfer the one object to another object, or we can display the content of object. So all the operations, we can perform all the operations like variables on objects. So you got the idea, the difference between classes and objects. Any doubt in classes and objects?
No, ma'am.
Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Because we have 4:30 department meeting, we will end this class now. From next week onwards, Wednesday, we'll have separate link for 2 to 3, 1 hour. Again, we will break and we'll have second session to 3:15 to 4:15. Because if you go with more than 1 hour continuous, so the network issues comes, storage is, we cannot able to store, and the Zoom also not supporting. Okay, you got the idea?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you go through the content, whatever we discussed today, and after tomorrow's class, tomorrow we have class from 8:30 to 9:30. After tomorrow's class, I will upload a small quiz based on whatever we discussed so far, like the 7 activities, 4 attributes, and the object-oriented concepts, and other quality parameters. So based on these topics, I will upload a quiz, MCQ, multiple choice question quiz of 5 questions in the Google Classroom. And if anybody is not joined in the Google Classroom, please join in the Google Classroom, because the MCQs, practice test, open-ended test, assignments, everything will be uploaded in Google Classroom only. You need to submit 1 assignment for every module. You need to at least attend 1 or 2 quizzes for every module, and you will be having open-ended test after 2.5 units, and you will be having final MCQ also. Every attendance, internal marks, everything will be managed through Google Classroom only. So everybody should log in into Google Classroom. I have already shared the Google Classroom class code. Through the Google Classroom class code, you join using your Jain University email ID. You got it? If you have any difficulty in joining the Google Classroom, you please send me your email ID to my WhatsApp number. I will add you one by one. You got it? So tomorrow you will be, after the first class, we will be having small MCQ based on the introduction to software engineering, 5 MCQ questions, and your quizzes and assignment carries 10 marks. Attendance carries 5 marks, and so internal marks will be calculated based on attendance and quizzes and assignments. Got it? Everything will be, record will be maintained through Google Classroom only. Okay, just type your names, answer your attendance, so that please answer your attendance in the chat box. Type your names in the chat box. Tomorrow we'll have class from 8:30 to 9:30. I will send you the link. Please join. If you have any doubt in today's class, you can ask me tomorrow. Already the material is uploaded and it is shared with you through the email also. Shall we end the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.